Hey everybody, and welcome back. Well, we're rapidly approaching a new milestone. I remember when Steam Shop Dave first suggested I start a YouTube channel and getting 10 subscribers and then 100 subscribers. Well, we're only about a dozen off 3,000, so may not be earth-shattering. I may not be a YouTube, influencer, which is probably a good thing because they all seem to be prats. So we're coming along, so thank you all very much for continuing to support the videos, for watching, and for all of the comments, which now that there's getting to be so many, it's quite a job to answer them all. So you might find that if you just give me a pat on the back, which I really like, I must admit, I might not answer. But if it's a question, I probably will. Well, I certainly will. I'll either answer it there in the comments, or if a couple of people have asked, I might answer it sort of in the next video. So anyway, here we go. It's the start of another week, and we're going to move on and do the ball races in here. We're going to get the headstock sorted. Then we're going to go back and do the swinging arm. So let's see what we can get done this week. Now we're going to have three things to do here. Here's our bottom yoke and stem, and these are the new races that fit the Enfield. So bottom one is too small, the diameter, so we're going to have to bore that out to fit down onto this wider part, and these actually are identical size. And then at the top one fits on here. So we need a sleeve for there, and then when we've got these on and the balls in, this isn't going to be long enough, so we're going to need to lengthen it. And what I'm going to do is cut it down here to put a piece in, and then when I've got it cut in two, I'm going to chuck this up in the lathe, turn this down a little so I can make a longer sleeve. I don't want to make the sleeve too short, I want to make it nice and come down to say here. So can you see it there? There's that and that. This is actually a little larger diameter than that, so I'm just going to turn that down the same, and then I'll make a sleeve and fit it on nice and tight down onto there. Alright, because I can't make it any smaller than this, or otherwise I won't be able to get the sleeve on. So I'm going to make it the same diameter as that, down to there, slide a sleeve on, and we'll put it on nice and tight. I can also put a little bit of weld on there, and of course this sleeve is going to be smaller than that still, so once this is turned out or bored out, it'll go over that sleeve easily to fit down onto there. So let's put this in the lathe. These of course are hard, so actually the boring bar I have, well, both the boring bars have carbide inserts, so they'll cut this fine. Now I've bored this one out to size, and I've had it in the oven to warm up a bit. There we go. It's on. Should I have warned you to cover your ears there? Right, so that's the bottom one done. Now we're going to let it cool down, then we'll put a few balls in that, put it into the headstock of the frame, and we'll see how far this sticks up and therefore how much extra we have to add to it. Now then, while we're waiting for that to cool down, we might as well take this swinging arm out. Oh, by the way, if any of you were wondering where my app was, it finally expired. It just got too nasty for Linda Jane to allow me to wear it. So, till I get a replacement, I'm bar tat. So all that happens is on each side there's one of these. Some of the Enfield frames, I think my Interceptor did, they're drilled and tapped just there. And when you've got that screwed on, you put a little Allen bolt in and it stops it from unscrewing. But anyway, they screw off both sides. As you can see, there is a grease nipple, and then oh, that comes out like thus. Hang on, let me walk round. I'll go the long way around. I'll go the scenic route. Okay, so that's going to come out like thus. And then the usual famous last words. This will just pull out. Let's have a look. There are some little spacer things in here as well. Just there, but it should slide out and leave them in. Ah, there we go. Out it comes. And then been in a long time, so I'll knock those free so you can see them when we put it back together again. So now I've put the top brace in with some balls in, so we know what's what. And of course this hole is nice and big, so this will go in easily. Put a few balls in there just so we get everything right. So that should go in there like this. And then come out to the top. And we are only quarter of an inch sticking out the top. So now that I know how much we're sticking out the top, I can go back and put the other bits on, and we can measure how much we actually need to stick out to the top of this. So let's go back to the bench. Now when we had this in the frame, we had a quarter of an inch of this sticking out from the top edge of this. But if we put that on where it needs to be, which is just here at the bottom of those threads, because there's a piece that screws on there, you put it in and it screws on, that holds that in the headstock, and then you put the top yoke on, and the top yoke goes on this piece here. Okay, so as I say, when we had it in the frame there was only a quarter of an inch sticking out above this, but there should be, let's get this in the right spot, an inch and an eighth. So we need to add 7/8 to this. If we add 7/8 to this piece, it'll push that up, pushing it through this, and the 7/8 plus the quarter will give us this inch and an eighth that it needs to stick out above the top brace. So 7/8 of an inch. So let me saw this in two. And then, as I say, we'll make a sleeve to fit on here. Turn that a little bit, make a sleeve to fit on, and then we'll make our 7/8 inch piece to go into the centre. By the way, if you're wondering why I bored the centre of this hard bit out, and it really was hard, and I didn't just turn down the tube here, it's because this isn't just made out of a piece of thick walled tube that's been turned down for this thinner piece. The tube is actually swaged. So that was the size of the tube, and then they opened it out for here. So this has only got the same wall thickness here as it has here. If I tried to turn that down, it would have just disappeared. So I had to do the actual race itself. Alright, let me cut this in two and start on the next bit. Now because this sleeve, which I've bored out, is relatively thin and I want it to be a tight fit on there, I haven't actually turned the outside diameter, because when that gets pressed on, see, it's tight enough on the threads, when that gets on and pressed on, it'll open it out a little bit. So I'm going to press it on nice and tight, then we'll put it back in the lathe, and then I'll turn it to the size for the bearing race. Now I've pressed that on so that is a really tight fit on there, and That way. As you can see, it's too big. It is in actual fact 1.105 and this is 1.091. So we want it to be just a nice sliding fit, so that's 14 thou. You know, I don't know how other people set their cameras up, but let's see if we can get this going. Okay. There's our 0, so let's just want to take 14 off. Let's take 10 off. And yeah, thought so. I'm still in reverse for the feed because with this lathe, when you want the cross slide to go over, like when I was just using the cut-off tool, it needs to be in reverse. So that in forward, start her up. Put my safety glasses on. Just had some discussion, I don't know if you noticed in the comments, about showing the machining. So for those of you who like to see the machining, here it is. Now then, let's see what we've got. And I'm aiming for 1091. Put the glasses off for this. Or I should say 091, and that's 100, so we still should be right. Anyway, you get the idea, don't you? So let me check that. Yeah, that's 100. So I still need... See, I took 10 off, why don't I need 4? I still need 9 by that. Okay. I can't see that I need a spring cut on this, it's going slow and... I'm not taking the 9 off, I'm taking the 4 off that I should be taking off. So if 101 was right and we've taken 4 off, this should be 097. Right. Cutting oil off. Okie dokie. Yeah, it's reading 96. So, don't know what went wrong with that first cut. Just to be on the safe side. See, it's almost on, so we'll take another 4. Yeah, I think I'll just clean that up with a file because I want a sliding fit. So let me work it with a file and I'll bring you back. And there we go. See, I've just polished it up a little. That's nice. Okay, next is the extension piece. Now I've come up with a bit of a problem. If you look at that, you'll notice this hole isn't exactly in the center of this piece of tube. It's the same in both pieces, so I can't just make a piece to go into there because it's going to be offset, so the two halves won't line up. So what I'm going to do, seeing as I've got them both split, is I'm going to drill through that and then that one as well, so that they're both, I'll put them in the lathe. I've drilled from this end for that one, but I'll put it in the lathe and that'll make sure that my hole is concentric in both of them, and then I'll make up a piece and it should be alright. Fingers. There's our extension piece in and welded up. It's actually still hot, so I'll let it cool down. Then I'm going to put it in the lathe and just clean that up. So just stand around for a couple of minutes while this cools down and then we'll do the turning. Right, we've got a full complement of balls in there, and I did a little test fit, and this race, the bottom race here, was actually a smaller diameter than the other races. Would you credit it? So I had to knock it out and bore it out a little. Full complement of balls in there. Screwed on there. And there we are. With that, what have I done with it? Guess what? It's time for me to walk on, didn't I? Well, I thought on and brought it across with me. No. And then that goes on there like that. Hinge bolt clamps that up. And we're in business. So there we go. That sticks down a remarkably long way. I guess this all gets sort of taken up in the actual Enfield casquette, the bottom yoke of the casquette. I could even, I suppose, have turned that little bit off the bottom of there, but it's really difficult to get in to turn that. So there we go. Right. Get on with the swinging arm. So, how are we going to cut these slots? I need to take these right back to here. Now, I could clamp it in there, like that, and put all sorts of clamps here. But I've got to stop this flexing while I'm milling it out, so that's all not really very easy. So I thought what I would do is, I marked on here where I want to come to. Actually it wants to be slightly further forward because I have the adjuster to go and we're up against there. So what I'm going to do here is on both sides we'll put some tape on. We'll mark the centre of where the wheel spindle is going to be and we'll drill a 5/8 hole. Then we have this nice big strong piece of plate here which we can put in the vise. All that nice. We'll put a support under this end, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use a slitting saw. We'll get these exactly level so the slitting saw will follow them to our 5/8 hole, and then we can flop over and do the other side. You could actually do this with a hacksaw. Once you've got everything marked, I could cut that off to make this a lesser cut and do it with a hacksaw. Actually, that might be the easiest way to do it. Mark this up actually in the metal, cut our piece there after I've drilled the hole, and then just because I know not everybody's got a milling machine. The thing about the milling machine and the slitting saw is it will make a really nice finish. Maybe I'll do one with the hacksaw. Okay, let me think about that. Anyway, while I get this measured up and marked up, and I'll show you it when it's all marked. Maybe we will just mark it straight into the metal and then we don't have to worry about this tearing or burning or anything like that. Now my little mind is still working on how I'm going to do this, but I thought I'd show you how I marked it out. So what I've done is the Royal Enfield, sorry about that. The Royal Enfield spindle is actually a little bit more than 5/8. So I've just taken the bottom of that and extended that along there. Okay. Then measured up 5/8 and there's my top line. Then I marked 5/16 to give me the centre line. And here is the adjuster. I've given myself enough so that it's not up against this weld here. So that's where we're going to drill our 5/8 hole. Now I have dropped it perpendicular. See, I remember some of my geometry. And I've measured from this line actually to the end, which is out of shot, I think. Hang on, let's put you in shot. Ooh. So from there to there is 5 1/8. So when I put my tape on and mark this up, on the other side I can measure from there and get my point for the 5/8 hole. So as I say, what we're going to do is drill that 5/8 hole first. Then, you know, if I mark, as I say, if I scribe this into the metal so I can see these lines, it would save me cutting through all of this. I'll cut that off. What we're going to do with that is I'm going to do it with the plasma cutter. So I'm going to make a little template to go on there as a guide for the plasma cutter, and then we'll go the other side and I use the same template, so I'll cut the two sides exactly the same. So let me set to, I'll mark that with a pop and take this tape off, and then I'll mark this, and then I'll mark the other side, and then I'll come back. Whew. So I've scored this now so that when I use the plasma cutter the marks won't disappear. These have gone right through the paint, by the way, so they're alright. What I've also done is I've made up a template. So this will be a guide for the plasma cutter. Now I've marked this side. I'll do exactly the same to the other side. I'm going to drill this 5/8 hole, and I'm also going to put a 5/8 hole in this, in the appropriate space, so that I can stick a bolt in and bolt that down. And then I've got a flat side there. Once I've got it there like that, I'll know both sides are going to be the same. So let me drill this hole and drill a hole in this, and then we'll do one side and go from there. So I've drilled my 5/8 hole. I've put a 5/8 hole in that. So we're going to put that on there like so. Pop the old wheel spindle in. And there's our guide for that. Right. So let me move the camera back, and then we'll yeah, that's fair enough. Then we'll cut that. Right, then here we go. Nearly all the way through. I guess I'm going a little too fast. Done. I like this thing. Blow some air out. Let's have a closer look. Now that has cut really nicely. Using a guide makes a big difference. Whenever I try to do it freehand, it's nowhere near as clear a cut. But who spots the deliberate mistake? I forgot to take into account the distance from where it cuts to the edge of the guide. So I'm actually a little bit out. So what I'm going to do is modify this just to take that piece out. I'll just curve that there just to catch that hole. Then I'll do that. Then we'll swap over and do it on the other side. Right, that's more the way it should be. Nice. So I've that's still hot. No, that's cooled down. So you can see there, it's actually 1/8 of an inch. I measured it. It's 1/8 of an inch. So I've taken that into account. Got the cut I want. Now what I'm going to do is, because this is such a short cut, and because I don't have the great big piece here, i.e. that piece, I am going to cut this with a hacksaw. So you're going to get to see some hand-o-matic workshop practices. Right. Let's see if we can get this sawn straight. God, it is going straight as well. Still straight. I'm impressed. Phew. Right, well, I won't bore you with the other cut. I'll bring you back in a couple of minutes. So there's our slot. I've cleaned it up a little bit with a file. Now I'll probably ease it a little bit more on each side, because as always there is the, there it is, look, the thickness of a coat of paint. So after we painted all this, we don't want to have to file it to be able to get the wheel spindle in and then let it rust. So, there you see the process. Clean that up with the file. Because don't forget, this gets flame hardened. So, okay. So I'll probably use a grinding disc or a flat wheel just to take that very top surface off and then shape it up nicely. So, that side worked. We do the other side. And then we'll cut out the cross piece. Okay, there's those pieces both cut. We've got it put there, so let's have a look, see what we've got here. We have got 16 7/8. Excuse me. 16 7/8, and let's make sure we got them right this way. 1 7/8 and 1 7/8. So that's all square and the right height and everything like that. So all I've got to do now is cut this piece out, and there we go, all done. It's taken off, ends done. All that remains is to fit it, which we'll do next week, because I want to fit this. I want to put the bottom engine mounting plates on to make sure the engine is good and solid, and then we'll put this hub in and we'll work out exactly the chain line and where the hub is in relation to the rim, so we see if we need any offset. We've got to have the wheel in here, but we need to have the hub right for the chain. So what did we need for there's 15 inches. We need 14 for a Trials tyre, and there's 5 inches where the tyre is going to come up to, and a Trials tyre is just over 4. So it's perfect, actually it's a perfect size, and it's quite a light swinging arm. Would make a good swinging arm for other bikes. Anyway, that's it, done. I'm off to do other stuff, so can't think of anything else I have to tell you. Did you enjoy the Tanachi Wong video? And nope, that's it I think. So until next week, enjoy yourselves.